we're going to talk about transfer top or flops. You guys might remember last week, and we talked about how what our opinions were about the managers, whether they should be confirmed or not. Well, I'll start off by asking you, Carlo. First of all, which team do you think had the best transfer, best transfers? Who do you think was the best transfer, even if we're not in this list that we got below? And who do you think is the most surprising transfer?
Gosh, which team had the best transfers? That's a difficult question because, I mean, none of the big teams are immediately coming to mind because, I mean, you could say Inter, did well to buy someone like Hakimi. He was great, but then they had Vidal and Kolarov, who have done nothing at all. But you've got Juventus, who actually have had individually a few good signings.
Yeah.
And you've had Chiesa, who's probably been for me the signing of the season.
Really?
But if you in Serie A, for me, he's been the signing of the season. But if you look at Juventus's overall transfer market, it was insufficient because they didn't strengthen well enough the areas that needed strengthened. But they had some good individual signings in there. So it's a difficult one, and I would say the same for quite a few of the teams with that. So I mean, I don't think there's any one team really that stands out. Certainly not out of the big teams.
You know what? I'd actually say Atalanta, because I think Atalanta. Well, I think Atalanta had a great purchase with Romero. They purchase. He's on loan, but I don't know if are they gonna. Is he?
I think he has with the option to buy.
Like 20 million, I think.
I think they did really well in not having an obligation to buy Caldara, so that hot pile of garbage is coming to Milan in June. I don't know what we're gonna do with it. And then I think the only one to talk about here is maybe Mele was a very good replacement. I think for Hathaway. I think he's not been missed at all. The Gomez situation, I don't know, because he was a great player, but the guys who are being subbing him in, they've been great. I think they like, especially Pessina, I think finally got his space and he's doing quite well. Maybe the only one who hasn't really surprised me that much is what's his name, Lammers, but he's young, he's not meant to explode.
And there's a lot of players in his way as well,
Yeah.
And I would agree with you. Sorry, Ricardo, I would agree that Atalanta would be the number ones because also look at the sales they've made as well. They've made some huge sales. Kulusevski without barely playing a game for them. 40-odd million. They sold Diallo. To Man United again. Played a few games and they sold him for massive money as well. So I think you're right. Atalanta have definitely been the best team.
What's up, Ricky?
No, I mean I partially agree with that because I think that some transfers have been like Romero, you were saying before, Mele. But if we think about like transfers that were supposed to have a stronger impact, I think of Miranchuk and Lammers, that they are potentially. Then I agree that they have in front other players, and it's not easy for them also because they're young. But I think they didn't meet the expectations, and so I don't see those as good transfers. On the other hand, I think that Juve, all the transfers they made this year are all in a way successful, but not too successful because we can argue that Arthur isn't performing as he was expected to. The injuries and maybe consistency, but the transfer itself, bringing Arthur and giving Pjanic, that was great. And Amy was saying it also last time. McKennie, Kulusevski, Chiesa. So I think all of Juve's transfers are spot on.
The good thing about Juve is that all of the players they bought are starters now. Or at least in the rotation of the starting team.
Yeah, none of them are out, you say. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll just get right on to it then, and then we'll ask you guys. So the first guy we start off with, I know Emiliano's a great fan.
Flop.
But all right, we're done. We'll close the stream. All right, Vidal, guys. Vidal, I was expecting him to be incredible. I was expecting him to be like the Juve Vidal. Ricky especially will know how good he was at Juve those years, but Vidal, for me personally, was a massive flop. Can we all agree?
Yes, definitely.
But on a
because
money,
at least,
on a money term, he was
or
he
at
came out,
least,
right?
yeah, or at least expecting him, not the Juve player, because that was a couple of years ago, but that at Barcelona he was so much better. At Bayern Munich also.
Yeah.
So
The biggest problem I have with him is that he was brought in as a experienced player who knew how to win, let's say.
Yeah.
But he would bring maybe leadership to the locker room, like change the mentality, let's say. But in reality, he was one of the ones maybe holding us back, especially if you think Champions League, how he got a red card, I think in 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
left us in 10 men, just doing all the wrong things, let's say, which was what really disappointed me. Because physically, he maybe wasn't there anymore.
But wait, Gab Zero is
mental.
back with his comments, and he goes, flop for Inter, top for Milano's pubs. What a guy.
And the
massive
all the money
salary
they
as
get
well.
from the fines.
Yeah, they built so many parks because of him. What a nice guy.
The
Anyway,
massive salary as well. He's on 6 million, and with Inter's financial situation, that's going to be a problem this summer for them as well.
True.
I think he's on a. I think he becomes a free agent, if I'm not mistaken.
what?
I think he's got another year.
Another year, okay.
Yeah.
Right, then moving on. Well, you mentioned him, Carlo, but Hakimi. Do you wanna give us a comment about how good Hakimi has been for Inter? We'll
Yeah,
finish
fantastic.
this up. Is he
Fantastic.
the best right back, or let's say right? Yeah, we'll say right back in Serie A right now.
I think so. Him or Lazzari, right? Wing backs in the wing back role. Yeah, I don't think you can find anyone. I mean, Quadrado's been fantastic as well. I think he's got something like 14 assists. But I mean, if I had to pick one, if you're saying right, we're building a squad here, who do you want? I think you go for Hakimi, and he's definitely added a new dimension to Inter's team this year. He's so quick, and he's just devastating on that right hand side.
It makes me wonder again, guys. And okay, so Hakimi and Theo flops at Real Madrid. Lukaku, Sanchez, and who's the other?
Hakimi didn't flop at Madrid. He never played there, did he?
Yeah, but they were so willing to send him away, and
not a flop, they just wanted money.
If you are Real Madrid and you got a guy who at Borussia Dortmund was showing the world that he's got stuff, he's got skills to pay the bills, but at the same time you have Carvajal in your team and Vasquez, and you'd rather keep Vasquez over him. So to me, it's crazy.
I think the thing about Hakimi is that he's really good off the ball. Like when he can move freely behind the defense and into the space. And I think in Real you need a player who's better on the ball, like when you need long times of possession, keeping the ball, passing it around the back, passing it to the midfield, which isn't really his quality. So I don't think Hakimi would have been that much of a mistake in selling him. I think Theo was a lot more of a mistake, especially as they went to buy Mendy for so much money. Instead, they already had the talent in their cantera, let's say.
Yeah, well, but guys, Hakimi is incredible. He's having a hell of a season. And I think still people don't talk about him enough. There was a point where we thought he might be the new Gozens. Gozens as well. What another player. Then we'll move on, guys. Osimhen could be the first one who puts us in a bit of a debate. Osimhen, do you think he's a top or he's a flop for now?
Flop for me for the money.
I think, I agree with Amy because, 80 million. Flop simply because you would expect him to do much, much more. But for 80 million, you would expect him playing. How many games did he play?
I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to look up his stats right now.
Okay, I think with Osimhen, it's if you're judging it just on this season or just from the start of the season to now, you say a flop because of the amount of money that was paid for him. But I am going to say that I believe in this player. I think he's got a lot of ability and a lot of potential, and it would not surprise me at all if next season he explodes. I think he's had an unfortunate situation where he started the season really well without scoring too many. I remember the game against Atalanta where he destroyed Romero in that game, absolutely destroyed him. Romero's been one of the best centre backs in Serie A this season. And then he got an injury, and then he got another injury. Then he had the COVID situation where he went back home, and then he came back, got another injury, and so he lost months, 3-4 months of the season. And when he came back, You know, he wasn't fully fit. So, you know, it's been a kind of unfortunate season for him. I think he's started to warm up now. The last few games, he looked good against Juventus. Come on, he's warming up. It wouldn't surprise me if he had a good end to the season. So it's a difficult one. I mean,
I put him in the middle. I put him right in the
possibly,
middle.
Yeah. It was a lot of money though.
Yeah,
They did overpay.
I agree with Carlo.
Well,
I agree
guys,
with Carlo that
I'll
if
tell
we
you
look
the
at
stats.
short term for this season,
he's only played 16
was
games,
it-
of which he started 9.
yeah.
He
So
scored what? He
I
scored
mean, for this
5.
season flop, but maybe for the long term, he can be an important. He will be an important player for Napoli. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay him 80 million.
Yeah. Personally, I personally don't think he flopped that much. But well, if a consensus, Jonathan, what do you think? Is Osimhen a flop or is he? Because I personally would put him in the
No.
middle.
Look, we need to also keep in consideration only one season passed.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about young players or just players in general come from other leagues. You need to give them time. For example, I'll give you a direct example of Lazio. Luis Alberto, his first season, he never played. And now he's one of the best midfielders in the league.
Yeah.
Milinkovic, same story. And it's the same for so many other teams, right? I'm sure in Juventus,
but Johnny,
in Inter.
they paid so much. You know, he's not like a wonder kid. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, we're gonna wait for him.
Yeah, but still, I mean, he
him
was
to
he
come
also
in
had
already.
injuries. And when he played, they were winning. But like when he was playing, I'm pretty sure they were winning a lot. So he must have been doing something right. I think he's good. I think Napoli should just give him more time. I mean, why should they sell him? There's no point. They just make a loss. Just
No,
keep him.
not sell him, but I mean,
Yeah.
consider. Well, I'll put him in the flop, but I'm gonna put him. If I put this guy here, at least he's right. He's very close to the edge. Sorry for our podcast listener, by the way, we're doing a transfer flop or top with our with players for a couple of the transfers that have gone this season. We're not gonna talk about some players that we always talk about, like Tomori, like I don't know. Well, we always mention him in some way. But we're going to talk about some people that maybe we don't mention enough. And so when I say to the right, it's flop. When I say to the left, it's top. And guys, remind me sometimes if I go too much of a visual. Next up, we mentioned him, Miranchuk, guys. Miranchuk, to me, is... I personally don't know how to judge him. I was expecting, he's got, Champions League experience. He was very piped up. And apparently everyone's like, oh, he's going to be perfect for the Atalanta system. He's a bit of a ghost, isn't he? Ricky, were you expecting more?
As
from
I said
Miranchuk?
before,
sorry,
yeah. As I said before, I think we all expected much more from him. Then it's difficult to enter in the Atalanta system, as we discussed in the past episodes. But I would say probably the same as Osimhen. Maybe good for the few. Maybe it wasn't his season. Maybe if he stays at Atalanta in the next season, he can find. In the next season, he can find more plays and become a more important player. But this season, he wasn't the best, let's say. Yeah.
But wait, Amy, before you go, the thing that really annoys me, though, is that when Atalanta do their transfers, we know that they study them pretty well because, it's rare that they miss a transfer. So the real question is it him or is it the context that is just not working for him, at least right now?
I feel like Atalanta has way too many options up top. That's, I think, my biggest problem with him.
Yeah.
Because if you look, you have a guy like Muriel, who isn't even a starter for Atalanta, and he has, 15 goals this season? Even more?
Yeah.
Like, if he isn't started, how could Miranchuk get consistent play?
Yeah.
So I think the environment affected him a lot. So maybe it was a bad transfer for Atalanta, looking at the position they were in. So I would put him in the flop category, but
he's only started
maybe
3 in 20 appearances. He's only started 3, and he's only got 2 goals and he's got 1 assist. Yeah, Carlo, what do you think? Is he a top or a flop?
Right, he's Russian. Where do the Russians ever travel well? They never do. I mean, you could count on one hand the number of Russian footballers who have gone to a top league and become stars of the league. So
true.
It's a stereotype, but it is true. To be honest, it's very key.
It's big.
Having
Guys,
said
just
that,
think about. Go for it, Carlo. Sorry.
Yeah. Go on. Go.
No, I just got to my mind also if we think about Kokorin that went to Fiorentina in January and
Yeah, where is he?
zero, absolutely zero.
I
Like
got
he
him in
maybe even won a
Catenaccio.
And yeah, at the start he was so much, everyone was so excited for him, and at the moment, maybe one appearance, not even starting.
It speaks measures of the fact that I didn't even put him there because I literally forgot about him.
Yeah.
I literally forgot about him. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys,
I remember watching Miranchuk in the Champions League against Juventus last season and being blown away by what a talent he was. I remember watching him after 10 minutes. I turned to my friend and I said, "This guy looks like a great player." That's the first time I'd ever seen him. So I think he is a very talented player, but as Emiliano said, they've got too many players for their position. So he's only started 3 matches this season. They've all been off the bench the rest of the games. And, he's got too many players. He's competing with too many players. Now, Ilicic might leave in the summer, potentially. So that will push him a little bit further up the ladder. Maybe he will get more opportunities. But, there's even with Ilicic gone, there's still a lot of players fighting for those 2 attacking midfield roles. You've got Muriel, you've got Malinovsky, you've got Pasalic, you've got
Pessina.
Yeah, Pessina, who's the first choice. You've got Ilicic still now, and then you had Papu Gomez before. Yeah, it's crazy the number of players that are fighting for those roles.
We had that. I wish we had, as a Milan fan, I wish we had that. Carlo, I wanted to ask you, where would you see Ilicic best, in your opinion, in Italy? Like, if you could just visualize it now, where would you see him, and where would you think he'd be best?
Ilicic.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the formation, he obviously he plays best in that kind of trequartista role, in that little area in between the midfield and the attack. So kind of any team that's playing that with a system like that, I mean, he could fit into the Milan system. I know he's been heavily linked, but I don't think he fits into their strategy, to be honest with you. So I would be surprised. I would be surprised if he goes to Milan. But I know he's been very heavily linked. He would fit in well there, I think, if he proves he's still got the legs for another season, because he's 33 and a half now, so he's not, he's not young. But Milan need a right winger. He could definitely fit in on that right hand side and then drift inside, because the Milan 3 attacking midfielders at Milan, they do interchange quite a lot.
Quite fluid. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he would suit the Milan system that way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're so fluid. Çalhanoğlu sometimes literally disappears off a pitch and doesn't come back. It's incredible.
My biggest nightmare would be Milan switching Çalhanoğlu with Ilicic.
Well, because you think a really good upgrade.
For Milan, it would be insanely good.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially the money Çalhanoğlu is asking for, absurd.
I think it's what we missed as well. Çalhanoğlu doesn't do it that much. With Ibra drifting so much, like outside of the box, we miss someone who just like cuts in, like a center mid that cuts in and scores every once in a while. And I think he would be perfect for that. But yeah, it's I wonder what we're gonna do about it. Well, guys, next up. So wait, Can
I say one thing about Ilicic, which maybe is an unpopular opinion? I was thinking, I don't know why, but I have this feeling that in a team like Milan or in, let's say, big teams, he wouldn't be as good or perform in the same way as he is doing now at Atalanta, because if we remember him, his best seasons were in teams like Palermo, Fiorentina, now at Atalanta. He never really played for a big team, so I don't know. I think he's
Do you think
good
it's
for
when
those
he doesn't
teams.
have that pressure on? Do you reckon it's when he doesn't have the spotlight on? He gets to perform. That's
maybe also
No,
that.
I don't know. Wasn't he always their best performer in Champions League normally?
Yeah, he scored a hat-trick against...
Yeah, like honestly,
Yeah.
I think Ilicic would do really well in a big team. If he has good players around him and he can get the ball more and have more space.
I think he got to that age, that football age, where he doesn't like that kind of pressure doesn't even influence him anymore. Because he's not like
he's old.
Old.
Yeah, I mean
he doesn't do any defensive work. He does no defensive work, which might be an issue at the big clubs. That's one thing I agree with Ricardo on. Although Gasperini is very big on that, he did create a kind of system where he allowed Papu and Ilicic to do no work off the ball, and I think that is what I understand is that is the main reason why they got rid of Papu because of that.
I still remember in the game in Bergamo against Real that, or maybe it was in Madrid. Anyways, he was subbed in, and Gasperini, I
It was in
remember, he
Bergamo. It
was
was in
so
Bergamo.
angry, because Ilicic couldn't, let's say, enter mentally in the game in the defensive phase, and so maybe. I don't know. It would be interesting. As I said before, he never actually played for a big team. So, I mean, if it happens, we will have. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah. All right, let's move on quickly because we're at 45. But Pereira, guys, wait, sorry, I went for it. I don't know why, but I'll tell you his stats. But I think he's an absolute. I think he's been doing really well, and I'll tell you why now because I had the stats on a second ago. I think the fact that he plays with De Paul kind of overshadows him. But would you have ever guessed that Pereira has 26 starts out of 26 appearances, 4 goals, and 4 assists? And he's got 25 successful dribbles out of 58. So that's nearly, 58, nearly 50%, something like that. And he's only got 2 big chances missed. I think it's really good numbers for season back. Yeah.
Udinese is decent, yeah, he's a good guy. I've interviewed Pereira. I've met him.
Oh, really? How is he?
Yeah, I've done a sit down. Yeah, he's good fun. He's a lot of good fun. Yeah, we played a few games with him, and he's crazy about a TV show called The Vikings. For some crazy reason, he's absolutely mad about it. He kept talking about it.
That is so
random fact, totally random fact there.
Yeah, that is incredible. That is a bit of a gem. So wait, so what did you do exactly in this interview?
When he was at Watford, I went to the Watford training ground. I did a sit down. I did a sit down interview with him. I did it in Italian, even though my Italian's not great, not perfect. Yeah, but I managed to get through it. Yeah, and it was good fun. Cool.
Well, Pereira will be glad that he's probably listening right now, so we'll say hi to Roberto Pereira. But I think, guys, Pereira's got to be a top, especially for the kind of profile player, and also because Watford and Udinese have the same ownership, so it must have been, in terms of finances, it must have kind of been damaging as well.
And then, Carlo, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but at Watford in the Premier League, he was one of the top players in the club. He was performing also very well, right?
The season I interviewed him, he exploded that season. The first half of that season, he was actually, some people thought he was the best player in the league for that first half of the season. He dipped off a little bit after that. He's a good player. He did well at Juventus as well the first season. But he's a good character as well. It was a funny day that I remember that. It's Stefano Chuka or Kaka.
Kakachuka. Yeah.
He was there. He interrupted the interview halfway through. We had to reshoot it.
What did he do?
He just started popped out of the door, and he looked overweight, and he just started shouting and going, "Hey, Pereira," like that, and.
These are absolute gems. These are incredible. Kakachuka, which is Emiliano loves him at fantasy football, don't you, Amy?
Yeah, me too.
It probably ruined your season. Anyway, Pereira has to go, man. Those are some really cool stories about him. All right, guys. Next up, Mandzukic.
You're gonna have to move Miranchuk and put him there.
Where?
I have to move Miranchuk and put Mandzukic there.
Oh,
all the way on the right.
Fair enough. Wait, okay. I'll tell you this, though. Okay. This is why I'm annoyed at Mandzukic. So he came in and, like, on paper, he looked like a perfect transfer for Milan. A seasoned striker who would come on a free and you just have to pay his salary, got experience. We were first in the league, so we were, believing in winning the league itself and probably getting a comfortable second place. And then absolute nothing. Like, apparently he came in and he was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm super fit. Comes in, gets injured. He looks like he's good to go, gets injured again. Next game against Genoa without Ibrahimovic, people are like, oh, maybe he could play. He's not going to play. Rebic is probably going to play, or Lau is going to play. He's only got 4 appearances, of which 0 starts, 76 minutes. And he's got 4 shots in total, of which 3 are on target. It's ridiculous.
I disagree that he was a perfect transfer for Milan, because when you look at it, what is he, like 38, 37? Somewhere around that.
Right now,
36. He's
36.
34, actually.
No, he's 34. He's 34.
Okay.
He's from 1986.
34.
Yeah.
Okay, 34. You have someone like Ibra, who's close to 40. And of course, you can't expect him to play all 38 games, especially if you have a bit of Europa League in here, a bit of Coppa Italia there. So, in my opinion, you need to get it. Of course, for the price, it was a good deal, but you need to get someone who could be there no matter what. If Ibra got injured, if he got suspended, if Ibra wasn't available or something, someone who was going to be there every single time.
Yeah, but
Maybe even coming in.
realistically, like, okay, we were first in the league. We don't want to spend too much money because then it could be a risk if we didn't even get Champions League. You know, out of the names out there, you don't want to spend 30 million on a player. Like, you don't want to do a Piontek where, yeah, Piontek was good for the rest of the season, but then you have to overpay him, and then he ended up not being that good. And you want to play that. You know, if Ibra is fit, he's always going to play. You know, Jesus Christ could come down and Ibra could be like, get him a bench, son. Literally. And so on paper, to me, he ticked over boxes. Carlo, oh, sorry, Ricky, go for it, and then we'll ask Carlo again.
No, I wanted just to point out that on paper, I agree with you, Ale. He was a very good signing. But the fact is that he was extreme. The risk for me was too high because you have to consider that getting a player, even if he was supposed to be Ibra's replacement, but a 34-year-old, after that, he basically spent 1 year in Qatar and then was, you know, it's hard to get that type of player that kind of, let's say, stopped playing football for a couple of years because after he left Juve in 2019, the Qatar, and then, you mean, so the risk for me was too high. And so, yeah, on paper it was good, but in the end, he didn't reveal to be the good choice, obviously.
All right, guys, we're going to have to go super quick, though. We'll just put him in flop. But we have to go super quick because we're going to leave Carlo go. We're going to let Carlo go in 9 minutes because it's not a hostage situation. But then let's get on to it right away. McKennie, guys, we can all agree he's a
top.
I personally think he's the surprise signing of the season when I asked the question before.
Yeah.
I think, guys, remember when we first did Catenaccio and it didn't even go online? Our tester episode, we did it. And I said he was going to be the surprise transfer of the season.
I remember.
I think
I wasn't there, probably.
We had a spreadsheet, and it did say McKennie.
Back in the day when we used to do spreadsheets.
Yes.
Guys, Pedro, I think I personally think he's on the same. My opinion for him is on the same level as Mandzukic. You know, it's this guy with all these accolades. You know, he's older, but he's so many. I swear he's like one of the only players on earth which has basically won everything he could have. He won the league, the World Cup, Euros, Champions League, Europa League. He won everything, didn't he? I think he was just disappointing. I think the worst part about him was his attitude as well. Apparently, he's had so many fights with Fonseca. So we all agree he's on flop?
Yeah.
Yes, but considering he was also coming from Chelsea directly, right? Yeah. So different situation from Mandzukic. You expected more from him.
Yeah.
His last games at Chelsea, his last season was, I don't know if maybe his last season, but his time at Chelsea was really positive. Like he was a good player for them, I think. If my memory serves me right.
He was absolutely solid. Okay, then Jonathan, you can comment this guy because I know you love him. Murici, the pirate himself.
No problem.
Johnny's crying.
I was about to curse, and then I remembered.
It's protected. Nah, you could curse, but not too much.
Murici should be off the screen. Completely.
I agree.
Yeah, okay, you might not know this, Carlo. I'm half Turkish, and I watch Fenerbahce, and I remember him last year at Fenerbahce, and I'll tell you this: any okay football player scores 20 plus goals in the Turkish league. He scored 15, of which like 5 were penalties. As soon as they bought him, I remember hyping him up to Jonathan. Was like, "Oh, Johnny, bro, you love this guy. He's amazing." And he's like, he's laughing because he knows it. And I really hyped him up. And then at a certain point, I remember like 4 days into the league, he goes, "Oi, mate, this guy is dog shit." He's like, "What are you on about?" I was like, "Oh," he was so pissed off because I gave him so much like hope. Caicedo's so much better. And then last but not least,
Caicedo's a god. He should be our starter.
Last but not least, this is the only guy who I'd put in the middle here. Lasagna. I think he's the perfect transfer for Verona because they had Kalinic. What's up?
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the alternative, who's Kalinic? Like, he has to be a good purchase.
I don't know if the stats here. I don't know if the stats they're giving me here are for their total. So, but it tells me he has 4 goals in the league, and he's got 28 appearances. So he's got.
I think 3 of the goals were for Hellas.
Yeah, I think
only 1
were for Hellas.
Yeah.
Right, should we put him in the middle then? Because he's we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the executive decision. Okay, he's right in the middle.